How's it going, everybody, and welcome back. Today we're going to be working on the old TJ. Got some parts for it. In the last video we fixed the head, got the truck running, and everything was good. But one thing that you might not have saw, just kind of off camera, I don't know if I mentioned it or not, is this thing had the craziest, most extreme shake and vibration that I've ever felt. And I thought it was the U-joints or the drive shaft, because the drive shaft has a giant dent in it. So I bought some parts and we're going to try to solve it in this video. So let me show you what's going on. Well, the Jeep is sitting up there on the lift, but it's not actually on the lift right now. The axles are being supported by these 4 stands. So that's the ride height of the Jeep. It does have some lift kit on it that the previous owner put on. So it's all rough country stuff. I don't know how big it is, 3 or 4 inch lift. I'm guessing like it's a 4. It kind of looks like maybe a 4 inch or something like that. But the thing with these Jeeps that a lot of people ignore is that they're so short, once you put a lift on them, it makes this drive shaft angle crazy extreme, so it starts to cause issues. So originally I thought maybe the vibration was bad U-joints, which these U-joints are bad even though they're brand new. You can see how shiny they are. Or I thought, well, maybe it's this giant dent that's in the drive shaft, which also could be part of the issue. Or the whole thing was bent. I don't know. But the thing was that once I put the truck up on the lift and the suspension was hanging fully down, all of the U-joints and yokes were binding up, which you can kind of see. I'll try to show you if I can. So up in here, you can see kind of like a rusty spot. The camera doesn't pick it up that well. But in here, these 2 yokes were binding up. They were just like stuck together. So if we go down here, we rotate it without dropping it out, you can just see how close all this stuff gets. And this is ride height. So you hit a bump or anything like that, it's going to cause these things to collide together. You can see I can't even get my fingertip in between them. So the guy did put a brand new transfer case in it, or a rebuilt one, whatever. And I think that's because he was crashing all of this stuff together and blew out the transfer case because it's at like a 25-degree angle or something like that. So the only thing you can really do, because this is the slip yoke part of one of these Jeeps, so as the suspension cycles, it moves that shaft back and forth a little bit, and the only place that it can actually move in and out is up here on these splines like that. So it moves in and out. You can see it doesn't have like much room before it binds right up. That's hardly anything. So in a situation like this, one of the first steps that you can do is you can get a Slip Yoke Eliminator kit like I got here. And I got this one from Adam's Drive Shaft. Yeah, that's what it was. So there we go. Adam's Drive Shaft and Off-Road. They're not sponsoring this or anything. I bought this. So it's like around $600. You can get it a little bit cheaper, but I spent more to get the American-made advance adapters, tail housing, I guess you'd call it, or extension housing, whatever this is. So there are some cheaper options. There is one other cheaper option through Adams for this, which I think is like $60 less. It's just an overseas model. I don't know if one's better than the other one, but I just chose to buy American and get that. So you have to take the transfer case out of the truck to install this, put in this new output shaft, change this, rear housing, put in a new yoke, and then your drive shaft here. So this is where it relocates the slip part down to the drive shaft, and it adds a double cardan in up here by the transfer case. So that takes those 2 extreme angles and splits it up into basically 3. So you'd get one there, and one there. So it divides up the angle and smooths it all out, so you don't have the binding issue that we're seeing up in here right now. It's kind of a lot of work to put in one of these Slip Yoke Eliminator kits, because you do have to take the transfer case out of the truck. You have to disassemble the transfer case to put that new shaft in it and everything, and a lot of people just don't want to do that, or they don't know to do that, and they end up with extreme vibrations, which is no good for the drivetrain, which is why I think this thing ended up with a transfer case. Again, I don't know too much about this thing. The previous owner wasn't super clear about different things that was going on with it. All I know is it had a different engine in it at one point, It had a new trans at some point. It's got that new transfer case, and that's basically it. One thing that's kind of cool about this truck is it has I'm assuming it's the factory by the looks of everything, but this is a Dana 44 axle, which isn't the standard axle for one of these Jeeps unless you got the Rubicon. It would be an optional axle. So this is the heavy duty Dana 44, and it has a Dana 30 up in the front like they normally have. So the only downside with the 44 is that your drive shaft is actually an inch shorter than it normally would be. And this is the one out of the 97 TJ with the Dana 30s, the smaller axles. And it is a 12-inch axle, or a drive shaft rather, with it being a little bit longer and a 1 inch shorter axle. So pretty nice that it's a heavy duty one. So if you do order one of these kits, you're going to have to do some measuring if you want to do that. But you can see right now we're all bound up, and that adds a split. That Slip Yoke Eliminator will divide up that angle right there and bring it down. So we do have to take this skid pan off. Hopefully it doesn't fight me too much. Got a couple of bolts over here. The trans mount, or I guess the transfer case mount, is right there. And then you can see the angle of this drive shaft is way less extreme because it actually does have a double cardan joint up in there. And then this side has some studs on it instead of bolts. So I don't know if rust is going to fight us on this truck or not, but it looks pretty good. So yeah, the lift isn't actually holding the truck up right now, so I do have to pick it up with the lift and then move the stuff out, the stands, and then we'll be able to prop up the transmission in the transfer case. There we go. You can see how much that came down. All right, just for S's and G's, let's throw this angle gauge up on here. I did stick it, the U-joint down in the yoke there, and this yoke is all worn out up in here because whoever had this either had it installed incorrectly or it was binding so much that it was slamming it around and blew out this yoke. So this yoke is shot. So under full extension, like when your suspension would top out or bottom out when you go over a bump or something, here right now it's 39 degrees, which is super crazy. I should have measured it before, but I did measure it with this because I didn't have batteries for my little digital one at the time. So I measured it just with this, and I think it came in right there at about 22 degrees at ride height. So we had a 22 degree angle on that drive shaft at ride height. So this stuff should help out a lot. All right, I got to stand underneath the transmission, kind of holding this thing up, put a little bit of pressure on it. I've got this stand holding up the output shaft of the transfer case just to get a little bit of weight off of the skid pan. I'm using a 19 millimeter. This side has bolts through it, and then this other side has studs coming through the frame. So I don't know what's correct or not. We do have to take off these 4 little nuts, maybe 1/2 inch or something like that, that take the transfer case mount down, so then we can get the skid plate off. Seems like 1/2 inch will work, but I'm pretty sure everything on this truck is actually metric, but I don't know. I've never done this job before on one of these trucks, but I did watch a Bleeping Jeep video about it. So if you don't know who that is, it's a channel that does all Jeep stuff, And I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express once, so we should be able to get it. Missing one of the bolts right there. So this one looks weird. So it's got that tapered shoulder on it. The other ones are studs coming right through the frame. Well, it's because the bolt or whatever is busted right off inside of this frame. So I don't know what we're going to get into. I mean, considering how much work has been done to this, I don't think there's going to be a bunch of problems with the bolts and nuts being rusted. rusted on, but who knows? This truck also is under-oiled. So the previous owner had this sprayed at a place that does under-oiling, so that's what you're seeing with all of this. So I do need to put some gloves on so I don't get it everywhere. Or I'll try to save my coat from getting destroyed. Seems like it's a little bit seized up. Well, the downside of these stands is they take up a lot of room. I don't have a ton of extra space here. Be prepared for all the excitement. The transfer case is staying up there, so that's good. Here we are. This thing's toast. This thing is wasted. I'll have to order one of those. Should have known that. All right, well, we got to take the front drive shaft off. You can see it's not that crazy. There's the double cardan for the front shaft, which we're essentially just adding another one of those onto the back, really. Drain out the transfer case fluid. I think it's just ATF basically in there. And then this mount has to come off. It's kind of a weird looking mount. I mean, the rubber doesn't look super bad, but it's bent or something. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe that's something we can fix. I don't know if it's factory or not. You guys can let me know. I mean, it kind of looks like it was sort of kind of homemade, or at least partially. I don't know. Let me know if that's like factory stuff or what. Anyway, got to pull that thing down, get the mount out of there. Like I said, drain the fluid, take off this shaft, and then we can get the transjack under it, separate it from the transmission, and, you know, take all that stuff off. It should be relatively easy so far. But let me get the drive shaft off, the fluid out of it, and all of the little piddly crap. Well, let's take a look at the transfer case juice here and see if it looks horrible or not. Apparently that isn't the transfer case juice. Well, either that doesn't drain the transfer case, or this is out of fluid. We'll try one of these. That would suck if the transfer case was run dry. I don't know what that was, some type of detent, the shifter or whatever. There's nowhere else to drain it from, so that would be the fill port, I would imagine. I'm going to find out. That would be strange if for some reason that doesn't hold fluid, or the fluid couldn't be drained out from there, but I don't know. Maybe that's somehow separated from the rest of it. We'll know in a minute. Freaking nothing. Look at that. This is wasted. I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be ATF. Look at the color of it. It's all burnt. It smells like crap too. So we're freaking empty. That's not good. This is supposed to be a brand spanking new transfer case too. It's funny the stuff that you find when you start working on vehicles that someone else has worked on that you're not super familiar with. Like the jam nut trans bolt deal there. Both of the O2 sensors being cut off up in there. You know, just everything. You know, missing bolts. One's busted off right here. I don't know if we can salvage that thing or not. It looks like it pushes right up in there, so I don't know what the deal is. But yeah, that isn't great. Hopefully all the bearings in it aren't wasted, because then we'll have to put bearings in this transfer case. It felt okay though. I mean, it didn't sound insane. It does sound like the throwout bearing might be cooked in this though. So I don't know. I think he did say, and I don't know how much of this is true, because, you know, you start dealing with people that don't really know, you know, what they're talking about, or you don't know if you can trust them. He said that he went through 3 clutches in this Jeep, which doesn't even make sense to me, because everything rolls, you know, free. It didn't feel like there was anything hanging up or whatever in the truck. So either he was super hard on clutches, or the transfer case was wasted. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's anything that's hanging up. I haven't ran into anything yet that makes me think that there's something bound up in the driveline. So I don't know. We'll find out though. So I'm just peeling back the onion, the layers here. Got the drive shaft off. You know, got the plugs disconnected from the top of the transfer case. Of course, you saw it doesn't have any lube in it. That sucks. Got everything off of here, pulled it down. Plug here is off. We're getting close. So I started loosening these nuts here that hold the transfer case onto the transmission. And I noticed that they didn't even bother to put a nut on that shifter bracket there. And then I started looking, and check it out. They have a socket jammed onto that stud there, where apparently they just got it either, like, you know, bound up on the corners of the nut because they used the wrong socket or something. Couldn't get it off, so they just left it there and bailed out. Whatever. We'll see if that's going to be easy to get off, or where I got to do it from, because it doesn't look like there's very good access anywhere. So that'll be fun, but whatever. Got a new socket out of the deal, I guess. The breathers are off up there, or the breather. I think it's going to be all right. Hopefully it's not cooked. We'll know when we open it up if it's trashed from running with no lube and being all burnt up. All right, well, I managed to get this little stubby ratchet up in there and loosen that socket without too much trouble. This whole part of the case here, there's not a lot of room up here between the frame and my microphone and stuff, but this part of the case kind of extends out, so there's hardly any room in here before you could, you know, try to back your socket or your ratchet out and get it captured in the case there. So I don't know what the deal is, but I'm probably going to have to find a different nut, unless he ruined it. I don't know. We'll see. It spins. So I'm going to just get this thing out and see what it looks like then. I think it's coming out. Looks pretty good. And there we have it. People baffle me sometimes. This is a 14 millimeter socket. Oh, they're right there. 14 millimeter. And it is actually a 9/16 nut. So I don't know. That's what it is. But here's the perplexing part. It's not actually stuck on there. There's the nut. It's just, I don't know why they left it on there. I guess he just forgot it. Who knows? I don't know. Whatever. At least it came off and it wasn't all stripped, because that would have sucked to try to get this off when it was stripped. But hey, there we go. All right, folks. Well, I got everything pulled off of this, I'm pretty sure. I've only got one nut kind of holding it on. Just got to crack it loose. Started to a little bit, but I don't remember how it's actually held on. I think it's just a spline shaft. I have the transmission kind of, you know, ratchet strapped up because I lowered the truck down quite a bit, because my trans jack isn't quite tall enough when it extends to reach up there. And when I bought this lift, it wasn't supposed to have this cable guide, or whatever you want to call that, protector at the bottom. It was supposed to have the overhead one, but, you know, whatever. I couldn't see it when it was all crated up. So it's a bummer, because I can't really move the trans jack back. My biggest fear is that I would try to get it up there and I wouldn't be able to move, you know, grab it by my hands and drop it. So I don't really know how heavy these things are on their own. I'm going to try to finagle it out the way that it is. I don't know what the best way is to separate that. It's coming out. I think I got to get to the other side though. There just really is not a good pry point on this thing at all. So I don't know if it gets wiggled out. Should watch a YouTube video. Oh, there we go. That's looking better. Actually, I might even be able to pull this thing down by hand. I don't know how heavy it is, though. That's the thing. Okay, there we go. We're out. So there we are. We got it separated. Well, that'll be a lot easier now. So now I just got to lower this sucker down, wheel her out. I really don't want it to fall. There we go. No drama, that's the way I like it. Alright, there she is. Whoever rebuilt it took all the tags off of it, so we don't know anything about that, but it does look like it was rebuilt. It's got a bunch of RTV on it. Got to pull this. I think it's a speedometer. I don't know. Pull that all out. The splines and everything. It's like a gross rusty grease in there. I don't know if we're lucky. Nothing in there is burnt up. Like the bearings are still good. Otherwise, I'll have to order those. But up in here, everything still looks okay. Just a bunch of rusty lube all over those splines there and everything. But overall, it's not too bad, really, for a Michigan Jeep. But yeah, basically that's about it. It's 10 o'clock or something like that, so I'm going to head in, and then we'll see you guys next time I come out here. A couple of days, tomorrow, whenever. See you then. All right, so we got this thing up on the bench. I'm just going to kind of start cracking into it and just see how it goes. I watched a bunch of videos on, what people were doing, how to put this thing together. I saw a bunch of conflicting stuff. Some people like to use RTV. Some people don't want to use RTV. There's just different things, so we'll just see how it goes. All right, well, I found an 1.1/8" socket, which seems to work on this yoke. So we'll try this thing first and see. I think it's like 29 millimeter or something like that, which I don't have. All right, there we go. The dust shield came right off with this one. Maybe it's part of it. I'm not sure. So I was showing you those indexing tabs that are on the rear yoke, and you can see how they're supposed to look. So, when you get a better look at the rear one, you'll see how that other one is just completely smoked. So this yoke is pretty good, but the other one is wasted. I think it'll still work. It's just a bummer. All right, and for some reason, everybody says that this is important to know what direction this goes. Doesn't seem like it would be that important to me because it kind of just goes in one way. It's got these little tabs here. This retainer can only kind of go in one way, so it sort of locks it into exactly where you need it to be. So, whatever. Anyway, that's that. This is your Speedo gear. Well, I'm glad I didn't try to carry this thing out from under the truck because it's so awkward and heavy. I would have 100% dropped it. Guess we'll take this snout off now. Let me get these out all the way. Now we got it. Man, it felt like it was Loctited in, but whatever. One of the videos I was watching says that there's a shift rod inside of here, and once you put this Slip Yoke Eliminator on it, this is too long then, apparently, because I guess what it's supposed to actually do is lower this shaft. It makes it shorter, which gives you more length on your drive shaft and drive line angle. So I guess this whole kit actually shortens it all up, and that's part of the deal with it, I guess. All right, I read online that you can use some of these bolts 6mm by 1. Run these down and it'll basically kind of push this thing right off. So we're going to try that. Oh, that's awesome. Thank goodness. Because that would have sucked to have been held up by that. I got those bolts from this little Harbor Freight assortment kit of metric bolts because the metric is not a very easy thing to find around here in bulk bolts for a reasonable price. They are super soft. They're grade 4.8 is what they say on them, but they really feel softer than that. So be gentle when you're using any of these bolts, because even though they're blue and some grade 8 bolts are blue, these are 100% not anywhere close to those hardnesses. Like for instance, this is a grade 8 bolt. It's blue. Think they look similar? Yeah, not ideal. But I mean, you know what? They work in a pinch. Wonder what this thing used to say. I just noticed this. Ooh. The harder I rub on it, the more I destroy the label. It said build or something on it. 5/7/2021. Alright, so this case was rebuilt May of 2021, apparently. There we go. All right, there should be a snap ring up in here. Up in here? Maybe not. Maybe there ain't no snap ring up in there. There we go. Thankfully, oh, well, I'm a liar. There's 2 snap rings in there, actually, but I think we only need to take off one. So here is the inside spring for this lip seal here. That's why they always tell you to pack them full of grease before you install a seal. So pack them full of grease on the inside, or else this little spring can pop off. So that spring actually, this thing was not working correctly because the spring is supposed to be inside of here. So you can see where that spring is supposed to be, and it was popped out and just laying in the bottom. And that's from impacting it around here. It just knocks that spring out, and the spring holds it, makes that thing hold its shape. Anyway, that's what that's all about.
One eternity later.
Finally, just a little bit bent. Actually, this one isn't so bad. The ones on the Fords, they were the opposite way, so the cut didn't give you anywhere to like stick your tool in and pry from because they were sloped outward. They were almost impossible to get out on the old 41. There's another C-clip down there for the bearing, which I don't know if I need to get out or not. There we are. Jesus. Well, so that's the pump. This pump is probably bad because it got ran dry. And it doesn't look like the sump was even attached to it unless it got pulled out while I was messing around with it. Yeah, so The O-ring is right there, so it might not have ever even been reconnected. I don't know, but anyway, that's the pump. You have to have your O-ring in here. That's what seals up this tube down here, which goes to a screen that is in there that filters out all this crap. She smells lovely in here. I'm not even joking. There's not one square foot of flat area anywhere in the shop that I can sit stuff. It's the craziest and stupidest thing ever. All right, you're gonna help me remember where this stuff goes, because it's important to get it back where it belongs. This is a stud. Goes over here by these ears. All right, we're gonna go with external Torx on this one because I don't have a 12-point socket that fits it. Or whatever that is. Oh. Oh, stripped it all out. Awesome. I literally do not have a freaking 12-point socket in whatever metric size this is. Everything that I have is the wrong size, even when it's rounded off. Every single thing I have. I don't know what size this is. Can't believe that. Red dot on it so we can see if it's even moving when I do this stuff. Not even a little bit. Alright, well, I have to go caveman style on it. Well, folks, let me tell you, from the outside observer to the outside observer, it might look like I've got all the tools in the world or whatever, but I really don't. It's just the way that it looks to you guys. A lot of this stuff was like my dad's, and it's for woodworking or whatever. It's just a lot of junk. There it is. I got a grade 5 bolt here, or a nut. What we're going to attempt to do is weld this onto the top of that so I can actually use a normal socket to hopefully unbolt it. Well, I had my amperage turned pretty far down, so that might have had something to do with it. Look at that. That's freaking nuts. All right, we're going up to 172 amps. $200 amp. Blasted it right in the center, so it should have gripped. If this didn't hold, I don't know what to do. Alright, if it breaks off. What the heck, man? It's crazy. Well, we succeeded. That's all that matters. But what the heck, dude? Huh. 35 minutes is what the camera reads. Obviously, I'll edit that down, but just so you know. Okay. I dug around in the Ford parts from the truck, the 95 F-150, and I found a bolt that'll work. I guess if we wanted to, we could put this thing back in it, because the threads are fine. But it's the same length, same size, same everything. So at least we have another bolt. I'm telling you, my metric bolt selection is like 0. I don't have hardly any. So for my own recollection, This stud goes in this front corner. We'll put it like that. This one is next. Obviously this one is after that. And we've got this one, got that one, that one, that one, and then that one. They're all basically the same to me. I mean, this one's a little bit longer, but I was reading through some stuff and they were all saying like, oh my God, you got to really be sure to keep track of the bolts. This is the only one up in this corner here. It's got a washer on it. It's the only one that's a different length, and it's basically almost the same length. So I don't know, but there's the order. Now the video I watched from Bleepin' Jeep, he used Red RTV to reassemble these case halves, and that's what I have. Just by luck, I just happen to have a brand new tube. So that's what we're going to use. Needle bearing, roller bearing right here. Still feels okay. So that's nice. So that's not wiped out like I was afraid of. And there's a magnet in there as well. So we'll have to look at the screen and see if it's plugged up. I can already see junk on it. So we'll have to clean that. I don't have a rebuild kit for this because I was told it was freshly rebuilt. So I didn't bother. So anyway, let me show you around. All right, so that's the screen. The screen goes right in this little slot here. Right in there. And then the pickup tube lays down in there. It also has a magnet in here. So there's the magnet. Covered in, it doesn't feel like metal. There's some metal in it, but I don't know what it all is. It's like rubber and plastic and stuff. So maybe they tried to seal it in there so it wouldn't rattle around and fall out. I don't know, but it's a magnet. I should have worn gloves. I'm going to grab some gloves. All right, my coat is already junk, but try not to make it any worse. I do wash it all the time. So there's our needle bearings. They don't look too bad. Magnet, I'll have to clean that up in some diesel or something like that. This thing's in pretty rough shape just because it was, ran dry essentially, so it's all burnt. Everything is gross, but whatever. The fork doesn't look bad down in there. What I'll probably do is run this thing. After we reassemble it and everything, I'll run it. It takes ATF plus 4. That's what's supposed to be in it apparently. So I'll run it for a little while and then I'll drain it all out. It'll give it a chance to warm up. And then, all of the slime will hopefully break down in it. And yeah, we should be good. So let me clean this up a little bit. Clean up these mating surfaces. Do a little bit in there. Unfortunately, we've got some shmoo and some grit down inside. I can feel it. So I'll try to clean up the best that I can. I don't think a little bit of grime is going to hurt it too much, but I do want to clean up this screen. I'll probably just do it in some diesel. I don't know what else to use, really. But we got a bunch of slimy oil in there. Look at how dark that is. Anyway, let me clean this thing up. All right, let's see how this is going to work. Rumor has is you just pull this straight out. So, chain seems a little loose to me, but I don't know. Maybe it gets tightened up once you put it in or gets mounted up. I don't know. There we are. According to the interwebs, we'll go like that. This could potentially have roller bearings in it or not. Man, this stuff is nasty. Another C-clip we got to take off on the back here. I've lost my snap ring pliers again. You can see right there, there's the snap ring. We got to pull that thing off. Hopefully not ruin it. Hopefully I don't destroy this one like I ruined the other snap ring. C-clip, snap ring, whatever. Look at that, sweet. All right, one snap ring. All right, there's our old shaft right there. These do not have the needle bearings inside, so that's good. Just go ahead and cleaned up the magnet. Check it out. There we go. Put our snap ring back on. Part of the problem is I can't really see very easily. It's dark in here. The camera doesn't really show how dark it is in the shop, actually. It looks way brighter on the camera than it is inside the shop. There we go. Snap ring is seated. I don't know if you can see it, but it spins around in there and doesn't come out. So there we go. That is on. We got this one like that, I would assume, I'd imagine, because one yoke spins onto this part here, one yoke goes onto this part here for forward and front axle and rear axle, so there's that. As far as in here, everything looks okay. I don't know if you can see that or not, but the screen is clear. So that's good. So there we are. Back together. Pretty simple, honestly. Getting it out and everything was the hardest part. I did clean up this edge some. I do need to do a little bit better job on here with some brake clean. Put the magnet in. I want to clean this up a little bit more in there. I'm sure there's a lot more that I could really do that you guys would recommend, but you know, it is kind of what it is. This is what came off that magnet. I know it's hard for you guys to see, but it was just disgusting slime. But we're not really rebuilding it. I probably should put a new pump in this. They're not that expensive. I probably get it for 30 bucks or something like that, but I don't have that on order, and I do want to get this thing put back together. At least the pump is something relatively easy, I guess, ish, that you could do. You can apparently put in this Slip Yoke Eliminator kit in the truck and never even pull the transfer case out. I don't know how that would really be. It doesn't seem like it would be very easy, so I chose not to do it. I mean, I got a lift, so it helps my back out a lot. My back is pretty much just freaking destroyed, so let's put this in there like, you know. Ouch. Ow. Ow. Let go. Ow. Spring. That freaking hurt. The bearings feel good, so the guy didn't destroy the whole transfer case. As far as the chain tension goes, I don't, you know, everything's kind of flopping around in here. I don't know what the right tension is supposed to be on it or anything like that. I don't take transfer cases apart very much. I think I've only had 2 or 3 apart in my whole life. So it's not really something that I'm ultra familiar with. So it's not I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert with anything, but I'm definitely not an expert with transmissions at all. Now if I turn this, that slot there is where this magnet goes. Now they had this magnet glued in with some RTV. I don't know if that is needed or not. it kind of fits into a slot there. I don't know if that's something that you got to do. I think actually, no, I guess it doesn't fit in that. But there we go. Oh, it goes in here like that. There we go. So it fits down inside of here. That's the deal. And it gets captured by these tangs at the bottom. And there we are. I'm going to spray this part out with a little bit of brake clean just to give it a little help. Okay, so I cleaned up the case halves and this everything. So it's all looking pretty good. This is just some of the red that I had laying around. Probably should have gotten some of the great stuff gasket maker, but I don't have any. That's what Hot Rod J likes, and a lot of people say it's the best that there is, but I would have never thought to use this red other than that video on Bleepin' Jeep. You know, they're a pretty big channel. I assume that they know what they're doing over there. Alright, well, let's put this sucker on. Am I missing anything? I don't think so. Let's go ahead and zip some of these down. I think it's on there. Oh, forgot this one. I forgot the one on top too. I think these are like 30 foot-pounds or something. I do remember now reading on the thing, it said to let this stuff dry for an hour before torquing to final spec. So I guess I need to do that. Go around and clean this stuff up. There's nothing that I hate more than a bunch of red high temperature silicone sticking out of everywhere. Just looks tacky. Oh no, I'm an idiot. I forgot to put the freaking screen in it. Son of a... Red silicone all over me. Frick. It's on everything like usual, just like anti-seize. Well, I guess it could be worse. I could have forgot it all together. Put the whole thing in the truck. Not my finest work, folks. There we go. Pump has the seal in it, so the O-ring is in the pump. Let's go over this and smooth her all down one more time. There we go. Well, I hope I got enough on it, actually. After seeing all the jobs that other people have done, this stuff's just hanging out everywhere. So maybe I'm not even using enough to seal up the case. Seems like it, though. I mean, you don't see gobs of RTV hanging out of every crack and crevice on a newer car or something, you know. This thing goes on here. Actually, I need to be on the other side. We'll put the pump together. Alright, so right here is the little tube, the pickup tube, and then we've got our O-ring in there. So I just have to get this thing on, somehow see over the table where you guys are. Try to clean this thing up a little bit. It's got freaking red RTV all over it. That stuff is seriously just like... It's just like anti-seize. Once it's on something, it's on everything. Why is this stuck now? There we go. I know you guys can't really see, but neither can I. So there's that. So I have to fish this thing up, hold it, slide it into that hole, and push it in. I must be doing something wrong because it looked a lot easier when I saw other people do this. There we go. Alright, I'll show you guys. I don't know, that's basically as good of a shot as I can get. So that tube is plugged in to the back of the pump there. And that's what you want. So there you go. I'm just going to leave all that in. It'll make the video longer, but you know what? This isn't a tutorial. I'm just doing the stuff, so you see I make a lot of mistakes, and sometimes it just takes a long time. I don't typically cut things out to make myself look like I'm a genius or something like that. Most of the stuff I cut out is just to keep the videos shorter so you guys could enjoy them and not spend half the day watching it. Alright, I'm done for the night. I'm starving. I'm tired. We're done. I'll see you tomorrow. Alright everybody, it's the next day. We're going to go ahead and RTV this housing on. I've got the bolts for it and everything, so it should be good. This shaft right here, I don't know how well you can see it, but as you shift this transfer case through the ranges, so 4 high, 4 low, this thing will pop up and down. So we don't want to get a bunch of RTV all over that. That would be not good. It also has a drain back hole in it for trans fluid. I did buy a gallon of ATF plus 4, which is what this is supposed to take. So we don't want to cover up that hole there. That would be no good. I'm going to put some gloves on, which I've already should have done, but I'm an idiot. It's so cold I can barely freaking squeeze this stuff out of the tube. I did manage to get a different shirt, so I'm not ruining the nicer work shirts that I have. It's not going to look the best. This will squish out. I've already slimed it all over the outside, but you know what? It is what it is. So there we go. I put a little bit of lubrication down in that lip seal there, a little bit on that central bearing, and then we are going to pour some ATF down in here, so it'll lubricate all of those splines and that speedometer gear and the main shaft and everything. So it should be good to go with all that. I did try to find a new pump for this today when I got the ATF and stuff, and no one sells it. O'Reilly's doesn't sell it. I can only order it online apparently, so I don't know if it's really something that goes bad that often. So we're just going to run it the way it is. Alright, we're going to pour a little bit of ATF down in here and hope it doesn't run out of the back. I don't think it will, but it might. O'Reilly's ATF plus 4. Near as I can tell, this is what's recommended for all of the older Jeeps like my Cherokee and this. So I don't know. So we're just going to cut a little slot in it so we can control where it goes. It's not running out of the bottom yet. I can hear it running through the transfer case though. Alright, well, it hasn't ran out of the bottom yet. Let's go ahead and put this speedometer back in it. A little bit of ATF down inside of there to help the O-ring seat. There we are. And again, this has little markings on it where this clip goes in, so there's only so many ways that it can go on. And there we have it. For right now though, go ahead and spin that on. These are the gaskets that go on here. So once we put the yokes on, we do have to cover it in this red RTV to seal up these splines and these threads on both sides so it doesn't leak out, all the fluid leak out all over. Apparently. I don't know why, but everybody does that. So go ahead and slap this yoke on this side first, I suppose. We cover this thing up a little bit. Give her a little spritz. Just so some of this RTV has a place to seat. This is the yoke we're going to use here, wherever I put the actual nut for this yoke. Who knows? I think this is weird, but apparently this is what everybody's doing. Seems strange to me. I've never ever heard of anybody putting RTV on the splines, but I guess that's a thing that people do. I'm kind of wondering, I don't know, I saw some people put these rubber insulators on the top and then on the bottom. I'm going to try it on the bottom because it seems weird that, I guess it doesn't matter. It'll go straight through no matter what. So it doesn't matter how you put it on. It's going to just be the way it is. You can let me know in the comments if this is a common Jeep, repair. Maybe these things leaked a lot from the factory or something like that. And this is something they do. I saw this on Bleepin' Jeep. They seem like they're a pretty reputable Jeep source. This just feels wrong. Push this thing down. I guess that must be the gasket, actually. This thing must be the seal that prevents it from leaking out of the shaft. So I suppose that is what is preventing the trans fluid from running out. Yeah, I guess that's what it is. I had the weirdest feeling of deja vu just now.
It happens when they change something.
Seems like 150 foot-pounds to me. Here's the other yoke. So I spray it off with some brake clean. Check that out. It even had the anti-rusting, protective thing over it. That's stupid. So this wax paper stuff has a rust inhibitor built into it. That's why it's always on everything. I think that'll do it. I'm sure it'll be just fine. There we go. Everything's tight. Everything's sealed. Transfer case is done. We just have to install it. Alright, so for the sake of just time, because making a video takes a lot longer, I'm going to go ahead and throw that thing in the truck. And then when we put the drive shaft in, or when I do it, I'll bring you back and then we'll see how much the driveline angle has changed. Now, if you get a lifted Jeep, there are other things that you can do to correct those driveline angles and bring them back. Transfer case drops, there are some other things, adjustable rear control arms to change it and all that stuff. So, I mean, if nothing else works, if this doesn't help enough, we might go with some rear control arms that you can adjust, which takes the pinion angle and the top bars adjust in and out. I have some for the Cherokee around here somewhere, but you can essentially pivot that rear pinion. Maybe we got to go that route. I don't know, but we'll figure it all out later on. For right now, I'm going to do this, and then I don't know, maybe tomorrow we'll be able to take it for a cruise. We'll just have to see. All right, I've been slowly getting this hoopty back together. I probably should have bought a trans mount for it, but I just kind of cobble fixed the one that we have. So this thing's almost done. So this pin here, if you remember it before, this is just flopping around in there, up and down. I think it actually might need one that's a little taller, plus this is ruined. But I just hammered it all back down into place and got the pin kind of in there. I'm sure I could fix it better, but it's good enough for now. It won't fall out. Anyway, transfer case is up in there. Everything looks good. I have this shift arm to put on. I've got everything all plugged in. The drive shaft still. I do want to check the oil in the transmission. I'll check the oil in both axles too, and then I have to fill up this transfer case. And then basically, I think that's about it. All of the wiring for the transmission is plugged in. I might as well change the oil while I'm here. Since I'm still running the same oil that I bought the truck with, and we had all those issues with the engine, it kind of smelled like gas a little bit. I already have all the parts for it here, the oil, the filter, the whole thing, so we might as well just fix it while we've already got it up in the air so I don't have to crawl around under it. So I'm going to knock that out. All right, well, here we are. One of my least favorite parts of the job. It's so cold out that this fluid's like pumping honey through here, so it takes forever. All right, everybody. Drive shaft is in place. You can see that the truck is at full extension. I have no jacks under it or lifts or anything, and we're looking pretty good. So even if you jump this truck off of a hill, our U-joints won't bind up. So that's good. Not that it'll ever be, in that position, but, our drive shaft angle is a lot less. No leaking on the transfer case yet. I've got the front drive shaft on, so everything is good. I checked the fluid level on the transmission, and we're topped up. I have not checked any of the axles yet, but I will. One thing left to do right now is put that skid pan back on. So transmission mount with the 4 bolts there, and then the 2 bolts on each side since it's broken. I did check the angle on it. Well, I don't know how accurate that'll be. 25-ish degrees on that, so a little bit better than it was. You can see how it changes up in here because, it splits the angle up. So I think it'll be okay. It's going to be a lot better than it was. Let me finish everything up. Well, all right, let's drop it on the ground and see what that drive shaft angle looks like. All of the fluids are good. I just have to change the filter and fill it back up with oil. But other than that, everything looks all right. I don't think this thing squats down a ton when it's on the ground. Maybe an inch or so. It's cold out here. All this oil is thick. Now it's got a couple of inches, 3 inches or so. Squishes down a little bit. All right, let's take a look. Well, that's a whole lot better. Yeah, looks like we need a pinion seal. I need to have a pinion. I need to buy a pinion for it anyway. But there we go. Quite a bit better. So I think we're going to be all right. All right, let's get out of here. All right. Now we can finally get out on the street and see if this axle and stuff did anything. Pretty much fixed. Got a little bit of vibration in there. Of course, we've got construction. So far, so good. A little bit of shake, which could be wheel balance. I guess I could test that. Check the balance on the tires. They probably were never balanced. Way better. I don't know what you guys can feel because it looks like the camera's shaking around a little bit. Let's wash this pig off. Make her look shiny. I'm not even going to attempt to use the parking brake. That's a recipe for disaster in Michigan. Still smells like it's burning a little bit of coolant. Well, folks, we got 4 liters of raw, unbridled Jeep power, a 5-speed, a trickle of heat, 4-wheel drive, super dark tinted windows. It's 106 miles to Chicago. All right, let's go get some gear lube for the front differential. Well, I don't know if you can hear it or not, but maybe. Clutch is in. Clutch is out. Sounds like maybe the throwout bearing or something like that is going out. I'm not sure. Either way, the vibration is gone, so that's good. Hey everybody, future me here. It is still ice cold out here. Update on the Jeep though. So since I filmed the video, a vibration did come back and it was pretty severe, but I didn't realize it at the time I made the video. It ended up being this rear yoke. So when I made the video, this yoke was on special order. I had ordered it. It was a week out, whatever. And then I put the SYE kit in it and it seemed to solve the problem, but it got worse the more I drove it. Let me show you why. So I think I was mentioning this alignment tab, right? This is the way they should look, and then this is the other side. You can see it's completely just ground down and wiped out. It's like completely like missing, basically. So whenever I put the truck together, I had, forced the U-joint as far over to this side as I could, and I strapped it down super tight. And that worked for a while, and I had no vibrations. But then it started creeping back in, because when I got the new yoke in, and I went to install it, I noticed that the U-joint had moved all the way over and started like riding up on this shoulder. I don't even know how it happened because these were tight, but it did. And that must have been enough to like throw off the balance on the driveline enough to get like a pretty severe vibration. So I'd say that the Slip Yoke Eliminator got rid of probably 65 or 70% of the vibration, and then the rest ended up all being that yoke. Now, I initially thought that it was just because the old Wrangler was a 26-year-old lifted Jeep with big knobby tires on it, and the dude did end up having like over 70 pounds of air pressure in those tires, so it rode like a brick. But I thought that that's what it was, vibration, just because the bushings were all worn out and whatnot, even to the point that I went on Rock Auto and I bought like a whole set of control arm bushings for that Jeep, thinking that just the bushings were just wasted. But no, it was all that yoke. So I'm pretty sure that the yoke, the driveline angle, and not having an SYE in it is the reason that it went through a transfer case. The transmission is a little bit wonky right now. I think he went through a trans. As far as I know, that's why he had to put another engine in the thing. Who knows? But the transmission will need to be addressed at some point, because you heard it, it was making a lot of racket. So either it's a bearing in the transmission or it's just a throwout bearing. Either way, once it warms up a little bit, we'll tackle that. But right now, the Jeep is running absolutely perfect, nice and smooth, just like a regular car. So I'm going to enjoy it until it gets warmer out. So I appreciate you guys watching and hanging out in the shop with me. Hopefully you enjoyed the TJ content. I appreciate all of you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.